Yeah. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to what used to be Hegemony Revealed, but now we have tried to rename it to be Beyond Hegemony because we are integrating some different concepts, or at least we're trying to be not only presenting hegemony and its many facets, but also looking for solutions around it. And I know that's a little bit challenging right now. So Sahana is with me. Garry is I don't know where, but he's somewhere and not here. So Shahana and I will be kind of taking over the helm as usual, but of Beyond Hegemony today. So me and Shahana were talking off screen before, like we always do, and some things came up, and I would love for Shahana to kind of just reiterate and talk about it because I think that's something that is authentic, and I think it's true for a lot of people. And I really want us as a community who see hegemony, or as you said, always have seen hegemony, what can be our message to people who are uh, talking the talk but not walking the walk?
Yep. I think for us, Trina, for people, quote unquote, global south, I'm saying quote unquote because, again, that's another term that the hegemony came up with.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Quote unquote, the countries that the white European powers colonized and looted from, I think we've always known the existence of hegemony. Always. They never fooled us. Never, not with their rhetoric about democracy, not with their rhetoric about uh, rules-based order, not any rhetoric. Not if any of us have followed history. We know what the USA did to Latin America. We know what they did in Africa. We know what they keep doing all around the world. I mean, USA is the most warmongering country ever to exist on this planet. So once that's straight and that's out of the way, I don't think people like you and me need to have hegemony revealed. We've lived it. We've lived under it. We've uh, felt its shadows. We felt its claws. Right.
Right,
It's
right.
the people who have benefited from it, mostly in the, again, quote unquote, global north, because there are many thousands in the global north who have not benefited from it. But there are a chunk of people who have benefited because, well, their countries industrialized on the back of our labor and our money and our wealth. So, yes, there is a chunk that benefited. So either they educate themselves on their own history, figure out, find out, because sometimes I feel you and me and people like us doing the weightlifting of educating them is a farce. We should not be doing it.
Mm,
We should
agree.
not have to do it at all. It's for people there to figure out how their countries and their governments have been complicit in not only desecrating the planet, not only devastating the planet, but many, many other countries, and how the wealth looted from those countries have actually gone back, right back to those governments to for their own countries and for their own whatever. So it's always America's security and America's this and America's that. And I say, fuck America. I've had enough of it.
Bravo. And
Seriously,
As an American,
seriously.
I wholeheartedly agree with you and all of the institutions. And I don't want to just say America, I want to say the West. We have to include Britain. We have to because Britain actually
Yes,
started all
of
this shit.
course.
You
The
know, I
German,
mean,
the Germany and France and Netherlands. I mean,
yeah,
look at them.
yeah,
So
yeah.
when I say, I just one disclaimer here. When I call out names of countries, it is the
Mhm.
governments of the countries, not the people, and
Of
not the,
course.
yeah. It's the government complicit in and doing it in the name of their own people, half of whom are so much in their propagandized haze, they don't
Mm,
even know what their government is doing in their name.
that's right.
And
And
their
that's what,
media is like another. mega propaganda machines. If you read the headlines of New York Times or BBC or whatever, it is like they're talking to, as if that one tiny world exists where only white people are the victims and everyone else is a terrorist, everyone else is a rapist, everyone else is a whatever. I mean, we've had that shit thrown at us. We know exactly the playbook that they're playing by. So I
Absolutely.
am furious, I'm angry, and I'm like, if only the West as it exists, the government, didn't exist, this whole planet would be so much better off.
And I agree with you. Actually, I think, there's a lot of rhetoric and it's always confusing because it's it's like I am reticent to agree with certain parties because of their historic oppression. But one of the things I will actually agree with is there needs to be less governance and more sovereignty for the people. And the sad part is that, unfortunately, what happens is those people who are currently in government find a way to take the sovereignty anyway. And they're no matter what. Like I was telling you off camera, what all of us need to understand is that the hegemonic forces have had a plan in place for hundreds of years. They don't they don't think in the short term. They get together with their little groups, whether it's the World Economic Forum, Illuminati, whatever you want to call them. They get together and they decide, you're going to do this, I'm going to do that. This country's going to do this, and then we're going to create this chaos over here, and then so we can get this resource over there, and then no matter what, it's always to solidify their position in power. And what we stupidly do, I'm not going to include myself because I no longer do it. I thrive the best way I can amongst the chaos, and that's what I encourage all my clients to do. But we see it like, oh my gosh, this has like been happening like forever. This is ridiculous, and all you got to do is be educated enough to connect the dots, but people light their bubble of delusion, and or they don't really see that they are deluded, and that's where we get these complexities. Is it their fault? I often say to people, I had a client who actually saw me on another live, and I hate to say this, but the whole entire time we were having our session, she was just taking notes, taking notes. And underneath, she was a white woman. Underneath, I said, wow, she's about to steal from me. That's what came into my mind because she hasn't reached out since then. She hasn't responded to any of my emails. And so my first thought was, okay, well, she paid to steal from me. My concept, how I coach, how I do something. It's
Yeah.
the constant colonization of what we do that is exhausting. Even areas of healing, it's either they're stealing or undermining. And on an individual basis, here's the only solution that I have to that is be aware and stay the course. Be aware and stay the course as quote unquote the global south or people of not European descent. Um, I just recently watched a documentary on the evolution of humankind. Now, I am at this place in my evolution where I take what they say and I process it. I don't ever take everything as gospel because I can see the historical perpetuation of false information and disinformation and propaganda. But there was something that was explained that like immediately triggered a visceral feeling inside of truth. When we developed as a species, there were different hominids on the planet at the same time. And that was not what I learned in school. I don't know if you learned it. I learned it was this, and then we evolved to this, and then we evolved to this. Now they've admitted, no, we were wrong. There was this and this and this. Homo sapiens and Neanderthals existed at the same time.
Yep.
Okay.
They did. Yeah.
And one of the way that this person described it was that the Neanderthals who were in the European area were absolutely vicious. They were monstrous. They were huge. They were stronger. They were just as fast as the Homo sapiens, and they actually ate Homo sapiens. And that image that I see of the big caveman with the big club dragging the woman by their hair, um, it is so crystallizing in my mind now. But what happened was we were physically compatible with them. So they would eat the males and rape the females and then take the land and they just spread out that way. Doesn't that seem,
That's such a trope.
yeah, but doesn't that seem so familiar though, in a way? Like the Roman Empire, the way it built, and all these, in the Roman Empire is just broken up now. German, Franco, they were all they just changed the names, but they were all a part of the same empire.
Yep.
And that's the West. And that's the West. Throw in the United States, of course, but that's the West or Northern Europeans. And something, they think like what happened in Italy. There was a big volcanic eruption, and it just kind of wiped them all out. And there was maybe like 30, 40 Homo sapiens that survived that. But luckily for us, the children that were bred from them were sterile if they were males. So kind of like a donkey and a horse, you can breed them together, but the offspring of the males are usually sterile, while the female actually carried on the Neanderthal gene. And luckily, the females preferred to have sex with Homo sapiens. So that's why mostly Europeans, and some Asians, some uh, have Neanderthal DNA, but most Africans do not. Okay, we're the original Homo sapien. So it was a really interesting documentary in that it made me understand so much, because the way they described the Neanderthals as like literal monsters, huge, driven by, just taking up resources and murdering and pillaging and raping. I was like, wow, that's sort of like European history. Sorry. Sorry. I mean, is it true?
Okay.
And so we just have a more quote unquote visually civilized version of that. But as NATO announces and tries to warn all the Americans and other people in the West to prepare for war with Russia, I don't see any difference.
And
I
the
really don't.
point is, they keep pulling out the old tropes and the old
Yeah.
enemies and the old, even though they were not ever. So it's almost like anyone and any nation, any people that wants to exist with, in harmony within itself,
Hmm.
without being dependent on the USA, without being dependent on the Western hegemony, in harmony within itself, developing and progressing, cannot be allowed to do so.
Hmm.
It's bizarre because every time you see a, a country that is progressing or democratic, USA will
Hmm.
go and wage a war. USA will go bomb the hell out of the country. It's almost like they're on autopilot and all they know how to do is bomb
It's almost
everywhere.
like it's just
Any
ingrained.
anything. Yeah,
Yeah.
every response is a bomb. I mean, whether it's Yemen or Syria or Iraq or Libya or Vietnam or Afghanistan, you name it, every country has. The moment they want to do something that is in either in a as a form of that USS sees as resistance,
Mm-hmm.
go bomb them. I
Yeah.
mean, it's becoming more and more bizarre, and so it's becoming more obvious. What I'm right now interested in is literally, because the hegemony is unraveling itself, and people who don't want to see it don't want to see it deliberately because it's
Mm-hmm.
their comfort zone, and they would rather l- let the whole world be bombed, but their Costco and their Walmart and whatever else has to
Mm-hmm.
exist.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't know. I don't even
But,
care to know what else. But
well, the thing is, it's hard for us to truly know because we don't walk in that privilege. We don't walk with, honestly, there's a part of me that is okay with not understanding because then that part, it's because when I feel like the moment I really truly understand is the moment I become that. You know what I mean? Like it's like that's not the skin I'm in. That's not the frequency and the vibration I'm in at all. You know, if I see people and getting along peacefully, oh, that's nice. There's not a part of me that gets jealous. There's not a part of me that goes, "Ugh, how dare they have joy? How dare they um, kind of live in their power?" So the only solution I think that is to keep continuing to live in that joy if we can. I told you offline about a visualization that I do regarding Israel, Palestine, and all those lost, martyred lives because it gives me a sense of peace. Because my understanding of energy, frequency, and vibration tells me that even this phone is a consciousness live vibrating thing that is just in solid form. And this concept came to me at a very young age. And I think it was probably the reason why I could never be indoctrinated into religion, no matter how many times people tried. It just didn't make sense to me that I am less than, you know? Why am I not? I create my thoughts. My voice can create a
yep,
reaction in a reality. So I'm supposed to give that power away from some unseen force. I think not. And so when I think about all those martyred Palestinian children and women, I just see them as these conscious souls, spirits, whatever word you want to use, free, free from the confines of this suffering. And also, I'll be honest, hopefully being a little bit vengeful. I'm sorry, it's there. I don't pretend to be perfect because I think some accountability must happen. And if we don't get it in this existence, in this reality, in this dimension, I sure hope they are making it happen there. You know what I mean? It's like it's the thing that gets me through the day is that okay, these people now they're at their most powerful state of existence. You know, they're pure consciousness. But the part of the problem is I don't know if these people who are perpetuating all this chaos and pain on the world every 150 years or so just because they can have any humanity. I don't, like I said, I don't think that they're even human, you know, as the majority of us operate in a world where we want connection and we want authenticity and love. We get some of us get pulled into it not knowing because we're young, we're indoctrinated, and then all of a sudden something a slip, a switch flips, and something goes. This is not right. At least some of us. Others, not so much. And so that's the only thing that gives me a sense of I can keep going because I know this is not the end all be of all of this existence. There's something else that's beyond their bullshit explanation of heaven and hell and all that kind of stuff. I don't I really do think it's bullshit. you know? So I don't know.
I know.
It's it's tough right now. And
Yep.
everybody's listening. You have a right to be angry. Of course.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
be
not.
productive.
I'm just, yeah, and I'm just like, for five, I mean, for at least historically 500 years, if not more, a bunch of people have been perpetuating a, a, a how should I say, a series of oppressive and repressive actions on the rest of the planet just
Mm-hmm.
because they deemed themselves superior, just because they marched into lands which welcomed them as strangers, and they saw that welcoming they received as weakness, and they felt that they could murder and kill and plunder and loot just because the people who already existed there were, like you said, peaceful and loving and joyful. They did not wish to murder anyone back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and that those paradigms have perpetuated where brute strength is seen as well. Strength and vulnerability and compassion is seen as weakness. And those paradigms have so deeply seeped into the modern colonial world that people who are genuinely, who are not even in this, who have thankfully been able to stay away from the hegemony in the edges, in the margins, whether it's people in little villages in countries like India, whether it's people in little tribal forests, even though their lands have been taken, they have been displaced because corporatization goes hand in hand with hegemony. But these people have not been touched by globalization because they didn't they were not deemed important enough, right, to be globalized. They could not become the consumers of the global products.
Mm-hmm.
And in one of the displaced villages where the land was grabbed up by corporates for mining and the military was deployed to keep away the people, the original inhabitants of the land, the tribals, the forest people, they retreated into the forest. And of course, they fought back. I mean, it's their land, their living, their livelihood, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they fought back. And the police there said, these people don't know greed. Because they don't know greed, they are so difficult to fight. They are
Mm-hmm.
not greedy. They don't even understand greed. Give every home a TV and the police won't be needed. You see advertisements on TV, they'll become greedy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, so this whole paradigm of, I think, post hegemony, we need to go back to these places which have res- which have succeeded to some extent in remaining untouched. And I'm not saying going back to cave days, neither am I saying we need to give up our technology, nor am I saying we need to live a life of, we build our own leaf huts and wear leaves
Mm-hmm.
and barks of trees. No, I'm not saying that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that we need to understand what is constructed by the hegemony as need when it is just pure advertisement directing, attacking your self worth. That's all. And
Mm-hmm.
really live on enoughness and need, and then the hegemony loses its hold when you are not a product, you're not a consumer, you're not giving in to the urge to go shopping at a mall just because, oh well, I'm
Yes.
depressed, so let me go and do some shopping.
Retail therapy.
And but so all of those are concocted, right? If you are
Mm-hmm.
depressed, go for a walk in the forest.
Mm-hmm.
Go and
If
hug a
you're
tree.
connect with yourself,
Yeah,
explore the
and
feeling.
so I think all of these paradigms that have been so insidiously drip poisoned into the system needs to be dismantled. It's like a mass scale BDS movement, boycott,
Mm.
divest, and sanction.
Mm.
Everything. Do a mass scale BDS. Check in and see, do you really need that? Do you really need
Yes.
that pizza? Do you really need that burger? Do you really need that next version of the iPhone, which is built on rare earth mined from Congo on the backs of little children who are barely
Yes.
7 years old?
Yes. Oh gosh. You're speaking my language. Minimal becoming a minimalist is probably one of the best um, solutions because the entire hegemony thrives on your feelings of insecurity and
Yeah.
validation through things.
And
You don't need that.
yeah, and yeah, and I think where the degrowth, post-growth movement is kind of not connecting the dots. They are only
Mhm.
keeping themselves to the economic realm. And when I say economic, yes, the climate and the destruction of the planet and the minerals and the oceans and everything, yes. But
Yes.
they are not connecting it to this entire empire of colonization that is
Hmm.
still perpetuating, and that is being propped up by the military might, the media might, as well as, of course, the corporatization of every goddamn thing on this planet, from agriculture to education.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you have a revolving door where people come out of the military, enter the White House, go out of there, enter an oil and energy company, and
Hmm.
you have that entire nexus operating. So,
Yeah.
so, so when degrowth and post-growth can connect all these dots and say that advertisement is propaganda. What is being told is propaganda. Malls
Right.
are the largest propaganda establishments on earth. And imagine, I'm going out of this and seeing the people who exist without this. And thankfully, I live in a country which, and I'm saying thankfully, which is still relatively poor in terms of purchase parity power of people,
Hmm.
individuals. So I know
Hmm.
people who've never stepped inside malls. I
Hmm.
myself haven't visited one in the last 6 years.
Hmm.
And nothing has, I mean, I haven't missed a thing.
The world hasn't fallen apart, and you don't feel
Nothing. I
any.
have not missed a thing.
I don't
And
feel. I'm the same way. Hmm.
so what I'm trying to say is the literally do a mass scale BDS. If there's a McDonald's down the street, which I have, like 2.5 minutes walk away from my home, which I
Hmm.
haven't visited in 6 years. Not only
Hmm.
now, but not in 6 years, and I don't intend to. There's a KFC in my next building. I don't go there because right next door to the KFC is a local shop by a local Indian who makes local Indian snacks, which I love very much. I don't need KFC.
Yeah. Well, you know what I really realized living where I live in Mauritius at the moment, there's a they've always pushed a status symbol on it. And, it's sad to me too, because there are a lot of Indian Mauritians and Chinese Mauritians and here. And they really have bought into the caste kind of classism type thing to the point where I really don't have, I can't really connect with them because They don't really have an they're too busy about keeping up with the Joneses.
Yep.
And if you're comfortable in your own skin, you're odd. You
Yeah.
know, and that is really a sad state of affair because unfortunately the influence of the West has, matriculated so deeply into the Indian culture.
Yep. And that's the whole
Um,
attempt at globalization, right? Where
right,
every
right,
corner has a McDonald's and a KFC and a Pizza Hut.
right.
And that's literally like I don't even need to walk a minute to access all of these.
Well, here's a bigger piece to it. That's not food.
Exactly.
That's not food. Things that do not mold or bacteria do not eat is not food. And that's another deliberate and manipulative and sinister aspect of hegemony because they know and they are purposely poisoning people in order to fuel another industry, and that industry fuels another industry and another. And if people actually just stopped and became aware of that if you change just one part of yourself, one part of your diet, one part of your habit, all of the other things fall in alignment.
Yep. And what's happening is, like you said, because Indians who have migrated abroad have gone there with the hope, quote unquote, of a better life. They
Mm,
face racism. I know many who stay there but face plenty of racism. But
mhm,
still, here they feel they can say things like, "Oh, I live in America," and that's supposed to be grand. The
mm,
problem that and the challenge is because gradually the country has been pulled into this globalized neoliberalism. People
mhm,
who are rising to the top are the kind of people who have this affinity for the glitz and the shiny stuff and the quote unquote the status symbols of
mm,
whatever that means.
mhm,
Because
mhm,
and the people who have fallen off the globalization grid are usually the poor people who cannot afford what globalization offers them. They cannot.
yeah,
And
yeah,
they are being turned, or rather, they are being indoctrinated into a kind of majoritarianism that is
mm,
also harmful for the country. So, on the one hand, you have the ultra rich who are holidaying in Paris or Italy or wherever. And then you
mhm,
have the people who can't afford 3 square meals a day and who are being indoctrinated into a kind of majoritarianism, which
mhm,
is pulling this country apart. And the same trick is being played everywhere else in every
everywhere.
other country. You have the ultra rich benefiting from this, and then you have the rest of the population who are whose living standards are being downgraded day by day because they are constantly trying to compete, striving for things they can't have, and striving for jobs that don't feed you
Yeah.
comfortably anymore. So this
I'll,
is the entire toxic mix that hegemony will perpetuate because it can't do anything else. It can't offer a positive, flourishing life to anyone.
no one.
It's beyond its capacity to create a
It,
flourishing, thriving world. It just can't. It's not meant to. It is designed for destruction.
it is designed by suicidal raccoons. You'll hear
Yep.
me say that.
Yeah.
They act like it. They're thieves. They cause destruction and chaos, and they can be vicious. You know,
It's
I
designed for destruction of wholesale planetary level destruction. And
yes.
that's the, I mean, look at America today. A handful are ultra, ultra, ultra rich, trillionaires. And then you have the people living from paycheck to paycheck,
Hmm.
not able to afford health care.
I
What the
often
heck?
want. Yeah, I often wonder what would happen if everyone collectively stopped using language like poor, because there are people who don't have the same things as we have that are content with their life and actually don't see themselves as poor. They're laughing, They're with family. Maybe they don't have the latest. Maybe they don't have a ton of food, but they survive. Um, they grow their own food. They do things. What if it's not poor? What if it's just, what if, I wonder what that energetic field and that frequency would look like if we
The feeling of
stop
being
change.
that enoughness and contentedness,
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
content with enough. Yes, I'm not saying you don't need some amount of, um, when I say comfort, I mean the comfort of daily living, where
Mm-hmm.
your food's secure, your home secure, your children have education, you have good health care, your infrastructure is good, your community is good, you're supported and connected and loved, and you belong. I think that's contentment, and that's
Mm-hmm.
joy and security. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you buy a few new stuff a year, you want to give your children a little birthday surprise, all of that come. You want to take a little vacation, but it doesn't have to rip apart the planet.
No.
People
Well,
do
the
that without,
thinking. Yeah,
I mean, you
yeah.
don't have to rip apart the planet for some imaginary, I don't know, excesses that really you don't need. I don't even understand the fashion world. I mean, billions of clothes are rejected every year, and I don't even
Yeah.
understand who wears them, who
Oh,
buys
yeah.
them, who needs them.
They don't. It's just a money making machine. It's just an industry. It's a made up industry. It's something that they have created in order to make them up here and everyone else down here. That's it. It's an illusion. Even money is an illusion. It's not, I mean, especially the money we have now, it's just a bunch of numbers on a computer screen digitally,
Yeah.
put to account over here. Yet we value it like we're going to die if we don't have it.
Rather than, it's
Yeah,
like a it's just it's a mechanism that helps you get something you need in exchange of that.
yeah.
So
It's called trade and
yeah,
bartering, and
and
we if we get
marketing and whatever, but it doesn't
yeah,
have to rule our lives.
no, no. I
So
think sometimes when I think about how the hegemony operates, these psychopaths have their own ideology about what is
yeah,
power and what is joy and what is
yeah,
going to be best for the flock. But I think one thing that we need to start doing that they do, we need to feel powerful. We
yep,
need to feel I am the no, I am they walk around and feel as if they're gods. No, I'm gonna walk around and act like I'm a goddess.
yep.
Why not? Because if I'm believing that and I'm creating that and I'm perpetuating that, guess what? That's my reality. And what if we all started taking out that take removing the golden calf worship gene that's somewhere embedded in our psyche, that this person is better than me? Maybe we can shift all this, you know.
As long
It,
as
it,
we're,
it
yeah, once we're contented and,
mhm,
like you said, comfortable in our own skin and truly contented, that happens
mhm,
because you're no longer, you don't care who has billions. You're like, yeah, happy, go enjoy your billions. I
mhm,
don't give a damn. But the
mhm.
point is,
Yeah,
it's not the billion. It's the point is a handful of people controlling the rest of the planet. And that
yeah,
is something that needs to change. The change is happening because they're any which way self-destructing. But the
yeah,
change is happening. But that will change, I think, the more we look at the borders and edges where people are living without this hegemonic productization, because there are people who are living there. Maybe not
mhm.
the way we do, maybe not what we think very comfortably, maybe are they secure? Maybe not always, but are we secure in this hegemony?
No, absolutely
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Absolutely
So,
not.
so I think it's time to look at the stories that, that are still untouched by hegemony and that are now finding their way back because people have a sufficient number of people are rising up to say, screw hegemony.
Yeah, Yeah. Well, and I think that, like I said, that it's deeply rooted in a perspective of, hey, you know what? I'm entitled to. I'm entitled to my sovereignty.
Yep.
Entitled to not listen to you. I often wonder what would happen if everybody just turned it all off.
Yeah.
Turned
And I
off.
mean, look at this tiny poor country like Yemen with the
Yeah.
Houthis. I'm so super proud. Go for it.
Mhm.
And
I'm
all they
like,
can think
go
about
for
is,
it.
I'm like, all they can think about is trade is stop it. I mean, you talk about
Yeah.
trade when 30,000 people are killed and many more under rubble and children are dying. Fuck
Hmm.
your trade. I hope they
Yeah.
manage to stop all the ships and inflation skyrockets and Biden may come to his senses or not. Maybe he doesn't have any senses left. He's senile, but that's besides the
I
point.
never thought he did. It was like
Yeah.
I said, even the political process is a propagandized
Yeah,
bullshit.
I
I
mean, I
can't
don't even
even.
consider them as human beings anymore. They are just a
No,
collective machine of war. So that's okay. But the point
exactly.
is, a tiny, poor country has said, shut the fuck up.
And I love it. I'm living
I
for it.
love it.
But
I'm so rooting for them with all my heart. Go
you know,
block their ships. You have
I
all our collective blessings.
there was a woman, I can't think of her name right now, but she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry that your Amazon packages are not
Oh
arriving
yeah,
on
yeah,
time." You know,
Miriam, she is amazing. I
I was
loved
like,
her.
"Yes,
Yes,
yes."
I instantly followed her just for that one sentence, where this moderator says, "But they're blocking trade." She says, "Good for them." Just
Yeah.
for that
Yeah.
one phrase, I instantly followed her. Amazing.
Yeah,
She has my blessings. We
she
need
has
more
my
people like her
blessing, and we need more people who look like her, to
and
speak
speak.
like her,
That's what I
and
started this
act
house
like.
with. We
And
should not be doing the heavy lifting.
yeah, yeah,
That's what I
and
started with. Yes, who
yeah,
look
I'm
like her
tired
and
of it.
speak like her.
Yeah.
I'm tired of saying it because we've experienced it. We are already tired from the experience of it. And
Hmm.
now having to tell people about it is like, it's like the Gaza victims having to prove they are dying even as they are dying.
Well, one of the interesting things about this whole deep dive into history and understanding how to
People have
connect
learned a lot
dots.
more. Yes, they've learned more.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
And to even understand that most of the quote unquote Israelis are not even Semites genetically. Petra wants to say hi. Say
no,
hi.
I say hi to you. What do you want to darling?
She
Where are your eyes? Where are your eyes?
they're hidden. She was supposed to get a haircut. There they are. But she did.
Mwah.
There was a cyclone, and so we had to cancel.
Oh,
Um, so one of the things that uh, 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 back, and she's happy now, is that you can tell they're shaking in where they impacted the most, what they value the most, by
trade the money.
the money and dropping bombs on people. You know what I mean? Because they're they're stopping your boats. These little, I mean, they're supposedly insignificant, right? But that just shows us how significant we are.
That's the
Imagine,
thing. So yeah,
see,
and I
people
love the
just
fact
stop
that a
buying shit.
tiny country like Yemen has stood up with and supposedly to the superpower, though I never
Hmm.
considered them the superpower, but
Hmm.
supposedly to the superpower with the mightiest of the military machines at its beck and call, and said, "Fuck
Hmm.
you. We are not going to let you through. Do what you can."
Yeah,
I'm like,
because what do they
hurrah,
have to
three
lose?
cheers.
What do they have to lose? And I think that if we all kind of gain that attitude about it, and it's like, you're nothing, you're no better than me. You don't deserve what you
No,
have
and
because
the
you.
point is, you can't go around like like a, what do you say, like this landlord who owns the planet ordering people
Hmm.
around as if the
Hmm.
rest of the continent countries are your serfs and they are there to do your bidding, and if they don't, you go and bomb them. I mean,
And the
what the
majority,
fucking hell?
yeah, and the majority of the citizens of the world are saying that now. You
Yep.
see, You see,
So
they do this all the time. They undermine themselves. That's what crazy people do. Sorry, I
and
use the word
yeah,
crazy. They undermine
no,
themselves
I
after time.
exactly. I mean, that's the
Hmm.
hallmark of insanity. I just wrote that today.
Hmm.
I mean, you keep
Hmm.
repeating repeating the same thing, expecting different results. You're not
Right.
going to get it. You're going to now you now have the a whole bunch of global South people and some global North as well saying
Hmm.
enough is enough. We've had
Yeah.
enough of your atrocities for the past 500 years. Now just shut the fuck up, behave like any other country. You're
Right.
just another country, behave like that and stay within your limits.
Yeah. Stay
You're no
within your
special.
limits.
You're
Right.
not
And
special.
and work with what you have to grow that. Stop this constant overconsumption. Get people to spend within their means, provide certain things. You think about the billions of dollars that have been going to Israel, which is actually Americans going over there from and other Western countries going over there to fight and join in their propaganda machine, which is actually falling apart too, because they're all Polish, Ukrainian, and not
Yep. And
one
they're
bit
just
of a
going there to
Semitic.
land grab, free land,
Exactly. And the thing is that's been
free real
happening.
estate.
The same thing in Africa. See, and the sad part is that even as we're talking about this, my head keeps going to what's happening in Palestine. But Jesus Christ, if I believed in that stuff, Africa has been enduring that
Yes.
for hundreds and
Centuries, for
of
centuries.
centuries of and
Look at
here
Sudan,
here
look at Congo, look at what they have become. And
and
Africa is the most mineral rich continent of the world. They should be the richest on this planet.
and
Then De
yet
Beers goes and takes away their diamond mines. Why? I mean, for fuck's sake, stay in your own country. Don't go
exactly.
stomping off to someone else's and grabbing their stuff.
That's because they mismanaged. They were too stupid. The best thing I can say to manage
Yeah.
their own resources. So they were too greedy. They just consume and consume and consume, and it's almost like that Mr. Smith in the Matrix and says you're like a virus.
Yep.
That's exactly what it
H1 is
is.
a virus. But you know what? The inoculation for this virus is our collective voices, our feet, our choices,
Mhm.
and we can choose to inoculate ourselves. The antidote is our collective imagination of a different world.
Yes,
And
and
I need to
I
go. So with
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it's so important. So let's just wrap up real quick because I have to go as well. Um, so, like I said, Beyond Hegemony is trying to create solutions. I think that Shahana and I did present quite a few solutions, but I'm going to present mine in the realm that I'm working in, which is mental health, mind, body, spirit alignment. Until we as individuals stop believing that we're less than, that we're not enough, that we're not worthy, they're going to continue to manipulate us. You are already enough. You don't need a new car. You don't need a new dress. You don't need any of that kind of stuff. You need to just be who you are. And you don't even need another person. How about that? You need you. You need you and to love you to a place. And also, I don't want people out there beating themselves up and going, oh my God, no, 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 no. Shame is no help here. What's helpful here is action. Stop contributing to what you know is killing you and everybody else in the planet. It's very simple. It's one or two adjustments is enough. Let's just start doing it. Get out of your comfort bubble and start doing it. I have done it personally, and let me tell you, every time I make an adjustment, I feel so damn free. And you, Shahana?
yeah. I think this is more a message to people like me, people in my country, people in uh, countries, other countries who look to the West, to the white people, as as the saviors, not even the saviors, but as role models, as whatever, as models of development and progress and technology and all that is supposedly,
Mm-hmm.
all that supposedly is the symbol of modernism and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So people who look at the white, uh, the European countries and the white people, stop looking. Look at, yeah, look to learn, to exchange as equals. Look to learn and share and collaborate and cooperate as absolute equal. Do not accept anything less than equality at all, ever, in any form, anywhere, in the workplace or anywhere else. And especially in the multinational workplaces where I know the global south people are really badly treated compared to their global north peers and colleagues. I've seen that, been there, and been thoroughly fed up and disgusted. So do not accept any form of collaboration, cooperation, co creation that is not extended from a spirit of absolute equality. And so there is no looking up, there is only looking at each other at the same
Square,
level,
squarely in the eye.
squarely in the
And
eye.
guess, and you immediately shift that mindset to be equal when you start loving yourself, because
Yep.
you
Yep.
can't look down on anybody if you are loving yourself. You're just going to see them as a reflection of you. So, all right, Shahana, tough one
Yes.
today. It was, I was, but I'm glad we went ahead and did it. Shahana's going to take a little break um, to
Couple of weeks
self
just to
care, to
to
self
get better.
care.
Yes.
And I agree with you. I just did my first episode of EQ above IQ, parenting with emotional intelligence and healing the inner child, the first one in 6 months, because I was self caring. And so that'll be up pretty soon as well for those of you who've been following the podcast and listening. Thank you. And I will try to get the last two episodes of Beyond Hegemony up so that you can listen.
Thank
And
you.
thank you again for being here and holding space and just being who you are, Shahana.
Thank you, Trina. Thank you
Yeah.
so
And
much.
everybody send me happy birthday tomorrow because it's my birthday.
Happy birthday in advance.
Yeah. All right. Talk to you soon. Enjoy your break. And Gary and I will be back in a couple weeks as well. Okay. Peace, blessings, and
Bye.
vibrate higher, people. Much love.
Bye.
Bye.